$10,000 just disappeared from your bank account, and you didn't even notice it happening. Not stolen by hackers, not lost to some scam, but evaporated in the 15 seconds it took you to drive your brand new car from the dealership parking lot to the public street. That's not a metaphor. That's not an exaggeration. That's the brutal mathematical reality of what just happened to your money. And if you're planning to buy a car anytime soon, or if you've bought one recently and that sinking feeling in your stomach is starting to make sense, then what I'm about to reveal will either save you a fortune or explain why you're still making payments on a vehicle worth half what you owe. This is the story of depreciation, the silent wealth destroyer that the automotive industry desperately hopes you'll never truly understand. Let me take you inside the mind of someone we'll call Marcus, because his story is everyone's story. Marcus spent 6 months researching the perfect SUV for his growing family. He read every review, compared every feature, negotiated every dollar. After weeks of back and forth with the dealership, he finally got them down to $32,000 for a beautiful silver crossover with all the safety features his wife wanted and enough cargo space for their 2 kids' sports equipment. He felt like he'd won. He'd beaten the system, got a fair deal, and drove off that lot with his head held high, his kids cheering in the back seat, his wife smiling in the passenger seat. Victory, right? Wrong. In the time it took Marcus to drive 3 blocks to the stoplight, his $32,000 victory became a $27,000 mistake. $5,000 gone, while his kids were still celebrating in the back seat. And Marcus has no idea this happened, which is exactly how the system is designed to work. Here's what nobody tells you about the moment you drive a new car off the dealership lot, and I mean nobody. Not the salesman with the perfect smile, not the finance manager with the leather folder, not the glossy brochures with the happy families. The instant your new car's tires touch public pavement, the universe reclassifies your vehicle from new to used. And that single word change triggers a value collapse so dramatic it would be illegal in any other industry. We're talking about 10 to 20% of your purchase price vanishing immediately. Not because the car changed physically, not because anything broke or degraded, but because of a simple designation shift that happens in the collective consciousness of every potential future buyer. But here's where this gets truly sinister, and I want you to really absorb this because it affects everything else we're going to discuss. By the end of your first year of ownership, your car will have lost 20% of its value. Year 2, you're down 30%. Year 3, 40% gone. By year 5, that $32,000 SUV Marcus bought is worth $16,000, maybe less if he picked a brand that depreciates faster than average. Marcus will have made 60 monthly payments totaling thousands in interest on top of the principal, and at the end of it all, he owns a vehicle worth half what he paid. The math is so brutally one-sided that if any other product worked this way, consumer protection agencies would investigate it as fraud. Now you're probably asking the right question, the question that everyone asks when they first truly understand depreciation. Where does the money actually go? Because it feels like it should be somewhere, hiding in the trunk maybe, or secretly flowing back to the manufacturer. This is where we need to shift our thinking entirely, because the answer reveals something profound about value itself that most people never grasp. The money doesn't go anywhere. It never existed as a physical thing you could hold. When you paid $32,000 for that car, you were actually paying for 2 distinct things bundled together, and understanding this distinction will change how you see every major purchase for the rest of your life. First, you paid for the physical car itself, the metal and plastic and electronics and engineering. Second, and this is the part everyone misses, you paid a massive premium for the privilege of being first, for that intoxicating new car smell, for the status of telling people, I bought this new, for the emotional high of being the original owner. That second component, that emotional and psychological value, is extraordinarily expensive, and the moment you drive away, you've consumed it entirely. It's gone, used up, depleted, and the next buyer cannot and will not pay for something that no longer exists. They're only buying the physical car now, minus the newness premium, and that's why the price collapses so dramatically. Think about this through a different lens that makes the mechanism crystal clear. Imagine walking into an Apple store and paying $1,200 for the newest iPhone, still in its sealed box. You pay, you leave the store, you walk 10 feet, and you open the box. At that exact moment, even though the phone is perfect and has never been used, even though it's 10 seconds old, it's now worth $900, maybe less. Why? Because you opened the box, you broke the seal, you consumed the first owner experience. The phone didn't change, your bank account did. And the same principle applies to cars except the numbers are 50 times larger. Let me tell you what depreciation really means in human terms, because this isn't just about abstract economics or accounting principles. This is about real families making financial decisions that will echo through their lives for years. Remember Marcus with his silver SUV? Let's follow him further down this road. Marcus financed that $32,000 purchase with a 6-year loan at 5% interest. His monthly payment is $515. After 2 years of faithful payments, he's paid the bank $12,360. He's been a responsible borrower, never missed a payment, maintained the car perfectly, kept it garaged, washed and waxed it regularly. Marcus has done everything right. Then life happens the way life always does. His company relocates him to another state, and the cost of living there is higher than expected. Marcus needs to sell the SUV to free up monthly cash flow, so he checks the current market value. His stomach drops when he sees the number. After 2 years, his vehicle is worth about $22,000. But here's the nightmare. He still owes $21,000 on the loan. 24 months of payments, $12,000 handed over to the bank, and he has only $1,000 of equity to show for it. $11,000 went purely to interest and depreciation, evaporated into thin air, and Marcus has almost nothing to show for his 2 years of financial commitment. If he sells, he'll need to write a check for any difference after the sale, and then he'll have no car and no money. He's trapped, and depreciation built the cage. Now multiply Marcus by 40 million, because that's roughly how many people in America alone are making car payments right now. 40 million people, many of them sitting in the exact same trap Marcus discovered, unable to sell without taking a devastating loss, unable to keep paying without strangling their other financial goals, stuck in a cycle that benefits banks and dealerships while slowly draining family wealth. This isn't happening in some distant theoretical world. This is happening right now in your neighborhood, maybe in your own driveway. Before we go any further, I need you to do something right now that will help this message reach the people who desperately need to hear it. If anything I've said so far has made you think differently about car buying, if you felt that recognition moment where suddenly things click into place, hit that like button right now, and then drop a comment telling me this. Are you currently trapped in a car loan where you owe more than the vehicle is worth? Or have you successfully avoided this trap by buying used? Your story matters, and the people watching after you need to hear it, because real experiences teach better than any lecture ever could. And if you haven't subscribed to Easy Finance yet, click that subscribe button now, because we're about to reveal the strategies that wealthy people use to make depreciation work for them instead of against them. And you're not going to want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's talk about how to fight back. So we've identified the problem, we've understood the mechanism, and now you're sitting there thinking what every intelligent person thinks at this point. Can depreciation be stopped, slowed, or outsmarted? The answer is yes, absolutely yes. But only if you're willing to abandon the conventional wisdom that the automotive industry has spent billions of dollars programming into your brain. What I'm about to share isn't complicated, but it requires you to override some deep cultural programming about success, status, and what it means to be responsible. Here's the master strategy that changes everything, and wealthy people have been using this quietly for decades while everyone else gets fleeced. Let someone else eat the depreciation, always, every single time, without exception. Instead of buying new and absorbing that catastrophic 20% first-year value loss, you buy a car that's 2 or 3 years old, where someone else already took that financial hit. This isn't about settling for less. This is about paying dramatically less for essentially the same product. That $32,000 SUV Marcus bought new? You can find the same model with 30,000 miles on it, 3 years old, in excellent condition, for $21,000. Same safety features, same cargo space, same reliability, $11,000 less money. But let's go deeper, because not all used cars are created equal, and understanding which cars depreciate slowly versus quickly can save you another $5,000 on top of the first savings. Generally speaking, and this pattern holds across decades of data, brands with reputations for reliability and longevity depreciate more slowly because buyers trust them to last. A Toyota Highlander or a Honda CR-V will hold more value than a luxury European brand that costs $3,000 a year to maintain. Luxury cars depreciate faster because future buyers calculate the expensive maintenance and repairs into their offer price, effectively punishing you today for problems that might happen tomorrow. Color matters more than you think. White, black, silver, and gray vehicles hold value better than orange, yellow, or custom paint jobs because they appeal to more buyers when resale time comes. Standard features and popular configurations depreciate slower than unusual customizations because the pool of interested buyers is larger. This isn't about stifling your personality. This is about recognizing that your car choice is an economic decision first and a personal expression second, and getting those priorities backwards costs you literal thousands of dollars. Here's another angle most people never consider. The relationship between depreciation and your loan structure creates a dangerous trap that can destroy your financial flexibility for years. When you finance a new car, you're racing against depreciation, and in the first 3 years, depreciation is winning easily. You're paying down the loan slowly while the car's value is plummeting quickly, which creates what financial experts call being underwater or upside down on your loan. This means you owe more than the car is worth, and if life throws you a curveball, if you need to sell. If you get in an accident and the insurance doesn't cover the full loan amount, you're personally on the hook for thousands of dollars just to escape the situation. That's not ownership. That's a financial prison with monthly payment bars. But when you buy a 3-year-old car for $21,000 instead of a new one for $32,000, you can pay it off faster with the money you saved, or you can invest that $11,000 difference in something that actually grows in value instead of shrinking. Over 10 years of car ownership, making smart depreciation decisions instead of emotional new car decisions can easily put $50,000 in your investment accounts instead of in the pockets of dealerships and banks. $50,000 invested properly becomes $200,000 over your lifetime. That's the real cost of not understanding depreciation, not just the $10,000 that vanishes on day one, but the cascading opportunity cost that compounds over decades. Now we need to talk about why this keeps happening to intelligent people who should know better, because if depreciation is this predictable and this devastating, why doesn't everyone just buy used cars? The answer reveals something uncomfortable about human psychology and the sophisticated manipulation tactics the automotive industry employs. Car companies don't just sell transportation, they sell identity, status, success, and emotional fulfillment, and they've gotten terrifyingly good at it. Every car commercial you've ever seen is designed to bypass your rational brain and speak directly to your emotional core. They don't show you spreadsheets comparing total cost of ownership. They show you happy families on road trips, successful professionals arriving at important meetings, adventurous souls conquering mountain roads. They pair these images with soaring music and aspirational messaging that says you deserve this, and you've earned this, and this is what success looks like. By the time you walk into that dealership, you're not thinking about depreciation, You're thinking about how owning this car will make you feel, and feelings don't care about 5-year cost projections. The salesman knows this, and he's trained to keep you in that emotional state. He'll let you sit in the car, smell that new car smell, which is actually just volatile organic compounds off-gassing from plastics, but your brain interprets as luxury and newness. Feel the leather steering wheel. Imagine yourself driving it. He'll talk about safety for your family, about reliability, about how you work hard and deserve something nice. Everything is designed to keep you from asking the one question that would save you thousands. How much will this car be worth in 3 years? And wouldn't I be smarter buying a 3-year-old version right now? There's also intense social pressure that we don't talk about enough. We live in a culture that judges success by visible markers, and cars are one of the most visible markers we have. Pulling into your driveway with a brand new car announces to your neighbors that you're doing well, that you can afford nice things, that you're successful. Pulling in with a 3-year-old used car, even if it's the exact same model, doesn't create that same social signal. We're trading our financial security for the approval of people who probably aren't even paying attention, and that trade is quietly bankrupting millions of families. Let's zoom out and look at what depreciation teaches us about value, wealth building, and the difference between looking rich and being rich, because this lesson extends far beyond cars into every corner of your financial life. Depreciation is essentially the universe charging you a tax for wanting new things, for wanting to be first, for prioritizing status over strategy. Every product that depreciates rapidly is sending you the same message. The premium you pay for newness is almost never worth it financially, even though it might feel worth it emotionally in the moment. Think about every major purchase through this lens. New furniture loses 30 to 50% of its value the moment it's delivered to your home. New electronics lose value the second you open the box. New boats, new motorcycles, new luxury watches, all of them follow the same pattern. The market is telling you clearly that being the first owner is expensive, and if you're willing to be the second or third owner, you can acquire the same utility and enjoyment for a fraction of the price. The people who build lasting generational wealth understand this at a cellular level. They don't care about being first, they care about being smart. They buy quality used items at deep discounts. They avoid the depreciation trap entirely, and they invest the difference in assets that appreciate over time instead of depreciate. Real estate, index funds, businesses, education, these are things that tend to grow in value rather than shrink, and wealthy people put their money there instead of into depreciating assets. Here's a thought experiment that crystallizes this principle. Imagine two friends, both earning $70,000 a year. Friend A buys a new $35,000 car and finances it over 6 years, paying about $600 monthly, including insurance. Friend B buys a 3-year-old version of the same car for $22,000 and pays it off in 3 years, paying about $650 monthly, but finishing 3 years earlier. In years 4, 5, and 6, Friend B invests that $600 monthly instead of making car payments. After 6 years, Friend A owns a 6-year-old car worth maybe $15,000 and has zero investment savings from those car payments. Friend B owns a 9-year-old car worth about $10,000 and has over $25,000 in investments, assuming modest returns. Same income, similar cars, completely different financial trajectories, all because one person understood depreciation and the other didn't. But this goes even deeper than personal finance. This is about the values we absorb from consumer culture and whether those values actually serve our well-being. We've been taught that new is better, that consumption equals happiness, that we should constantly be upgrading and replacing and buying the latest version. The depreciation trap exists because that cultural programming is so strong that millions of people will voluntarily destroy their own wealth just to participate in the ritual of buying new. It's a mass delusion, and the only way to escape it is to see it clearly for what it is. So what do you do with this information now that you have it? Now that you can't unsee the trap? First, if you currently own a car that you bought new and you're not underwater on the loan, congratulations, you've survived the worst of the depreciation curve. Your best move now is to keep that car as long as mechanically possible, because the depreciation rate slows dramatically after year 5. Every year you drive a paid-off car is a year you're not making payments. And those are the years where you can finally start building wealth instead of hemorrhaging it. If you're currently shopping for a car, you now have a massive advantage over every other buyer walking into dealerships today. You know the trick, you see the matrix code, and you can make a decision that will save you enough money to change your financial trajectory. Search for certified pre-owned vehicles from reliable brands. Focus on cars that are 2 to 4 years old with 30 to 50,000 miles. Verify the maintenance history. Get an independent inspection and buy the car that makes sense financially rather than the one that makes you feel successful. Your future self will thank you when you have actual money in investment accounts instead of sunk costs in a depreciating asset. If you're underwater on a current loan, owing more than the car is worth, your situation is tougher but not hopeless. Your best path forward is to avoid the temptation to trade in and roll negative equity into a new loan, which just makes the problem worse. Instead, focus on paying down the loan aggressively until you're right side up, even if that means making sacrifices elsewhere in your budget. The pain of getting out of this hole is real, but it's temporary, whereas staying in the cycle of perpetual car payments is permanent pain that never ends. We've reached the moment where you have to make a choice, and this choice will determine whether this video was just interesting content you consumed and forgot, or whether it becomes the turning point where your financial life genuinely changed direction. I've given you the knowledge, I've shown you the trap, I've handed you the map to navigate around the biggest wealth destroyer in the average person's life. But knowledge without action is just entertainment, and I didn't make this video to entertain you. I made it to actually help you build the financial freedom you deserve. So here's what I need you to do right now, immediately, before you scroll away. If this video opened your eyes to something you didn't fully understand before, if you're sitting there right now recalculating your next car purchase, if you're thinking about the $11,000 you could have saved or the $50,000 you could have invested, then smash that like button so the algorithm shows this message to more people who need it. Leave a comment right now telling me your biggest takeaway or your plan for your next vehicle purchase, because your story creates community, and your words might be the final push someone else needs to make a smarter decision. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Easy Finance and turn on notifications, because here's what I promise you. Every single video we create is designed with one mission: to give you the financial education that schools never taught you, that your parents might not have known, that the industry absolutely doesn't want you to have. We're building something bigger than just a channel here. We're building a community of people who refuse to be financially manipulated, who make smart decisions instead of emotional ones, who build actual wealth instead of just looking wealthy. You're either part of this movement or you're not, and clicking that subscribe button is how you join. Do it now. Depreciation, in the end, isn't really about cars at all. It's about time, entropy, and the universal truth that everything that exists moves in one direction, from new to old, from perfect to worn, from valuable to worthless. Your car depreciates because that's what physical objects do in a physical universe governed by the second law of thermodynamics. Nothing lasts. Nothing retains its original perfection. Everything flows toward decay and dissolution. This isn't pessimistic, it's just true. But here's the beautiful paradox that makes this whole discussion worth having. While your car depreciates, you don't have to. While physical objects lose value, your knowledge can gain it. While material things decay, your wisdom can grow. Every time you choose strategy over status, every time you let someone else absorb the depreciation while you capture the value, every time you invest the difference in things that appreciate instead of depreciate, you're moving in the opposite direction from your car. You're becoming more valuable, more capable, more financially free, while the object in your driveway becomes less valuable with every passing day. The question isn't whether depreciation will happen, because it will, always, inevitably, like gravity or aging or the turning of seasons. The question is whether you'll be the person who understands this reality and uses it to your advantage, or whether you'll be one more person in the long line of casualties who bought the shiny new thing and wondered years later where all their money went. The difference between those two outcomes isn't intelligence or luck or income level. It's simply knowledge applied, and you now have the knowledge. What you do with it, that's entirely up to you. The road ahead splits into two paths. Down one path, you keep making the same mistakes millions make, buying new cars, absorbing depreciation, staying trapped in payment cycles, telling yourself you deserve it even as it destroys your wealth. Down the other path, you become the person who sees clearly, who thinks strategically, who builds real financial security by understanding how value works and refusing to be manipulated by marketing and social pressure. Both paths are always available, every day, with every decision. Depreciation has already taught you which path leads where. Now you just have to choose which direction you're going to walk. Choose wisely, choose strategically, and I'll see you on the road to financial freedom. This is Easy Finance, and we're just getting started.